Welcome to 5 Good Minutes.
You're listening to today's inspirational message
On the book of Romans with Brady Randall.
Mind your own business. That's what I feel like saying when I'm having an adult conversation in my house or over the phone with someone else, and someone else whom I'm not talking with butts in to give some commentary or advice. And I think to myself, if I actually wanted your advice, I would have asked for it. But I think that this can generally be true spiritually as well, that when it comes to sin, most of us would be better off if we minded our own business and paid more attention to our own sin than that of somebody else's. Today we're kicking off Romans 2, and this is what we read in verses 1 through 3. You therefore have no excuse, you who pass judgment on someone else, for at whatever point you judge another, you are condemning yourself, because you who pass judgment do the same thing. Now we know that God's judgment against those who do such things is based on truth. So when you, a mere human being, pass judgment on them and yet do the same thing, do you think that you will escape God's judgment? Most interpreters believe here that Paul is focusing on the sin of the Jewish people in chapters 2 and 3. And it's always easier to look at someone else's junk in their own life than to focus on our own. I think that's why Jesus said, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye without considering the plank in your own eye? Remove your own plank before you help someone else with their piece of dust." But what Paul is not saying, however, is not to be concerned with the sin of others, particularly those who claim to follow Jesus, for God will be the judge of the rest of the world. But there is a sense of accountability for those who claim the name of Jesus to look and act like Jesus. There's a sense in which when you follow Jesus, you therefore, by your very nature, are holding yourself accountable to other Christians. But here Paul says when you pass this judgment on someone else, you're actually condemning yourself because you do the same things. There's hypocrisy. It's really easy to look at someone else and say, "Oh, how awful. Can you believe that someone would do that?" While at the same time, Paul says you're doing the exact same thing. And God alone will be the one to bring about the ultimate judgment against such sins. Why do you pass judgment and do the same thing yourself? How hypocritical. But the reason that God and God alone has the power to judge is because his judgment is based on truth. He's the only one who can see the beginning from the end. He can see every impure and wrong motivation of the heart. And God promises, as we'll see over these next few days this week, that he will have absolute, supreme, and final judgment. And there will be no one who will be without excuse. No one will be able to say to God, "You are unfair," because his judgment is fair. It's true and it's right, because it's based upon reality and truth. And I know that sometimes, just for myself, I can feel morally superior to someone else when I look at some of the things they're saying or doing. And when I put myself on someone else, what I tend not to do is take a closer look at myself, which really is my business and my concern. When one of my children get in trouble, I begin to have a hard conversation with them about what they did and why they did it. And sometimes my son's first response is to say, "Well, what about her? Or what about him?" I call that whataboutism. It doesn't matter about anybody else. What we're talking about is you, dealing with you. And I can only imagine on the day when we stand before God and meet him face to face, I don't know that we'll be doing a whole lot of what about them. Didn't you see that, God? We would have been a lot better off had we recognized and done something about the sin or the plank in our own life, in our own eye. And the haunting question remains, do we think that we will escape God's judgment? You see, God does not judge based on a bell curve. He doesn't judge on the basis of did we do more good than bad. No, God judges on the basis of perfection and righteousness because that is who he is. He is perfect. And because he's perfect, he will not ultimately be in the presence of any sin, yours or mine. So how indeed will we escape such judgment? But by running to Jesus. And in the coming days this week, we will look more closely at the answer to that very question. So tune in next time.
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.